Well, today's an exciting day. We are learning how to ride a motorcycle. This video assumes that you have limited to no riding experience, and it also assumes that you have a motorcycle to ride. So I've been riding for about 15 years, a little over 15 years, creating this video to help get you some information that hopefully makes your riding experience positive, safe, and gets you started on the right foot. So the first thing you want to do is find a big open parking lot. Okay, so you found a large open parking lot. This isn't that big of a parking lot, but this is LA. There aren't that many big open empty parking lots. So anyway, here you are. Let's talk about gear first. You want to be G'd up from the feet up. I don't know if that's the right way to use that phrase, but you get what I'm saying. Gloves, jacket, boots. Ideally, you want to have like a Kevlar pant on or something that's tough. Ideally, you want to have full leathers. They're not cheap, but I highly recommend full leathers. Okay, fine. Make sure you have your gear. A lot of people ride without it. It's foolish. I've done it before. It was foolish, okay? So let's talk about the controls on the left side to start off. So on the left side of your bike, here's your clutch. This is what you'll pull this in and you'll shift gears. You'll have your high beams and low beams on the right side in most instances. High beam flasher. Your horn, generally on the right side, but every bike is a little bit different. Your indicators, left, right, and press in to turn them off. Some bikes like Harleys, they have a left indicator and a right indicator on their respective sides. Not most bikes have a single toggle switch like this. Not every bike has the modes, so we won't go over that. That's the right grip. Now, the right foot controls. You have your rear sets here. Your gears are going to be, first gear is always down. First, and then you go up to second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth if your bike has a sixth gear. Neutral is in between first and second. So if you're in first, it's a half click up to neutral. If you're in second, it's a half click down to get into neutral. So that's your gear shift lever, and you'll operate this with your feet. Okay, that's the left side. On the right side, you have, right, this is your go, this is your throttle. Right, this is a super important feature here. The left side does not turn, right? Just your throttle side. This grip here, this lever, is your front brake. I've heard anywhere from 60 to 80% of your stopping power comes from your front brake. I'm not sure what the truth is, but the point of the story is the majority of your stopping power comes from your front brake, so that's a super important lever to get accustomed to using. Here is your kill switch. This particular bike has your stop, run, and start all on one toggle. Some bikes are different. You have your stop, run, and then there's a secondary start button. We'll go over that more in a second. And this bike has a menu toggle. Not every bike has that, so I'll leave that off. This lever here, this is your rear brake lever. It's foot operated, super important. So that's the right side controls. Now let's get on the bike and go over, well, let's talk about getting on the bike first. I get on from the left side just because it's easier. You can get on from whatever side you want, right? On the kickstand side, the seat's already facing you, so it's a little bit less of leg lift to get on. Boom, nice and easy. The bike's already kind of greeting you. Once you're on the bike, put your hands on the grips and sit up. Now this bike's a little tall for me, so I'll tippy toe it. You can flat foot it with one foot, flat foot it with both feet. Both feet depends on how tall you are, what bike you're riding. Put the kickstand up. Make sure the kickstand goes up all the way. If it doesn't, that could spell some problems for you in the future. All right, the kickstand could come out and you'll dump the bike. Not a good look. Let's talk about how to turn the bike on. Right, so here's the ignition. Put your key in the ignition, turn it to on. Right, your bike will come alive. Hello, how are you? I'm great, thank you. Now, your kill switch, super important. This is how you turn the bike off. But to start it, set it to run. On this bike, the run and start buttons are the same. On some bikes, you have to set it to run and then press a separate start button. I'm in first gear, so I'll have to pull the clutch in to start the bike. If I'm in neutral, I won't have to pull the clutch in. Some bikes, you have to pull the clutch in to start bike regardless of if you're in gear or not. So pull the clutch in if you're not able to start the bike in neutral. Then you hit the run button. Boom. And she's alive. Fantastic. Now turn it back off. Okay. So before we even go anywhere, just sit with the bike between your legs here in neutral. Just rock the bike back and forth. Get a sense for the weight. Turn the bars. Rock it back. And notice a little bit of a difference. All right. Turn the bar. Rock the bike. Walk the bike back. Keep the bar straight. Walk the bike forward. Right. And just rock the bike. Just get a sense for how the weight transfers and how turning the bars just a little bit affects the weight transfer. Okay, now do that for a few minutes until you're comfortable with that. All right, so start the bike. Now, the first thing that we want to do is find the friction zone for the clutch. Now, what does that mean? Pull the clutch in, put it in neutral if you're not, put it in first if you're not already in first. The friction zone, as you start to release the clutch slowly, is where the clutch begins to engage with the engine, or the engine begins to engage with the drivetrain, and you start to move. It's a very important zone. That's where you start movement. So the first exercise is going to be letting the clutch out with your feet down. Just a little bit. Slowly, slowly, slowly. And you just walk with the bike just a little bit. Get going, pull the clutch in. Right? You don't know, I don't even need to use the brake. Right? Cover the brake. Now, don't cover the brake with all 4 fingers, because you're going to grab a handful of brake and you're going to fall off the bike, lock the front brake. It's a bad look. I cover the front brake with 2 fingers, okay? I cover the clutch with 2 fingers. You never want to be full fist on either of these grips, okay? 2 fingers, 1 finger, 3 if you're getting wild, but really 2 fingers. Okay, so go find this friction zone, and I'll walk the bike back. Let it out. It starts to grab. I walk, and then I let it out. Okay. That's exercise number 1. Now, the next exercise, we are going to get going in first gear, and we're going to pick our feet up, and then we're going to use the front brake and a little bit of the rear brake to come to a stop. You let the clutch out, I'm going straight, I'm going. All right, I pick my feet up, pull the clutch in, gently pull in the front brake and press on the rear brake, okay? Now do that a handful of times. Let the clutch out, you get going, pick your feet up, yay! Pull the clutch in, gently press on the front brake and the rear brake. Come to a stop, put your feet down. That's exercise number 2. The final exercise is our figure 8. Now, there are 2 very important concepts that I want to talk about before doing the figure 8. The first is that when we're under 10 miles an hour, the bike will be pretty easy to steer, or pretty intuitive to steer, right? It's like, you want to go right, you pull right. If you want to go left, you pull left, right? This is under 10 miles an hour. As soon as you get over 10, 15, right, definitely once you're into like 20 miles an hour, it switches. Now you're counter steering, right? The geometry and the physics of the motorcycle dictate that once you're over that, like a little bit faster, over 10, 15 miles an hour, if you want to go left, now you need to push left. If you want to go right, then you need to push right, right? It literally, the bike starts to fall that direction. If it doesn't make sense now, you will absolutely feel it when you start to ride, but just remember that. Once you get up to speed, you will be counter steering. Push left to go left, push right to go right. For this exercise, for this figure 8 exercise, we'll be going under 10 miles an hour, so you'll see me steering the direction that I want to go. There's another concept that's super important that our figure 8s will help us with, and that is the concept of head placement. So let's get going. Again, no throttle, just letting the clutch out. Here we are. If I want to go left, I need to look left. Look left to go left. Do your little circle. Turn your head. Look right to go right. Okay, it's a super important concept. A lot of people will ride off a cliff or into a barrier because they're looking at the cliff or looking at the barrier. You need to look where you're going. Turn your head. It could even, this is going to feel ridiculous when you're doing this on your motorcycle, but turn your head fully to the left to look to where you're going. Right? This is our figure 8. This is a super important concept, as important, if not more important, than counter steering. I mean, they're both super important, so I don't know how you compare the two. Okay? But look left to go left, look right to go right. Do your figure 8s for a period of time until you're getting comfortable. Set up cones if you have them to make it a bit more of a challenge, and that should be cool. Next, we are going to talk about shifting. Okay, so here we are. Let's talk about the sequence of shifting. Let me put this in neutral for a better demonstration. So when we're riding, assume that I'm in first. If I want to shift to second, I need to pull in the clutch, roll off the throttle, switch with my foot, boop, let off the clutch, and then roll back onto the throttle. Okay? Seems like a lot of steps. It will become super intuitive and really just a singular motion once you start riding for a little while. But you need to practice. So let's start. Right? And I'm just going to give it a little bit of throttle. When I say a little bit, I mean a little bit. A little bit, right? Do not, don't whiskey throttle this thing or you'll send yourself flying to the moon. And that's, could be dangerous. So just a little bit of throttle. So here we go. Let's let the clutch out. Let the clutch out. Pick your feet up. Give it a little bit of throttle. Now pull the clutch in. Roll off the throttle. Switch with your foot. Let the clutch out. Roll back onto the throttle. Now, to stop, you will want to pull in the clutch and ease onto the front and rear brakes. Come to a stop. Put your foot down. Okay? You'll also want to shift down through the gears at the same time so that when you're stopped, or that once you're stopped, you're in first gear and can take off again if you need to. Let's try that one more time. Ease out in the clutch. Give it a little bit of gas. Pull the clutch in. Roll off the gas. Switch up with your foot. Let the clutch out. Roll back on the gas. To stop, pull in the clutch. Roll off the gas. Ease onto the brakes and downshift. Watch that back 15 times and then practice it 1,000 times. And then once you're into second, you just shift up to third, up to fourth, up to fifth, and then up to sixth if you've got a sixth gear. And guys, that is, guys and gals, that is the beginning of your riding adventure. I hope that you found something valuable here today. If you have, leave a like, subscribe, and definitely leave any comments. There are a ton of expert riders out there that have incredible knowledge. Leave resources in the comments because I need them. We all need to get better at riding. It's a skill that continually develops. One final note. There's a lot of risks inherent with riding a motorcycle, and I'm sure you're aware of that. And if you're on the fence about riding, that's okay. But you have the choice now, and you can choose to live fully alive or live your life just waiting to die. The choice is yours.